Caitlin Clark, despite Stephanie White doing everything she possibly can to reduce her Caitlin being Caitlin Clark into a role player who is at best a third, fourth, or fifth option on the Fever offense, basically an afterthought who kind of gets junk buckets here and there that are don't occur within the actual offense that Stephanie White runs. Caitlin Clark is so damn good that you can still see the nightmare matchups that she creates because of everything she does, and the Fever do not put it into the game plan. It is just those things that happen because Caitlin Clark is that good of a player. And I have a few clips I want to show you here, both in terms of what Caitlin brings, but also some of the other things we see from the Indiana Fever that are a huge red flag for this team. First thing here, this is both shows you what can happen when you do certain things with Caitlin Clark, and also just because it's a little bit of fun, and that is sticking the three over Asia Wilson. Unfortunately, I couldn't find what happened beforehand, but they obviously got a mismatch. But this is the type of thing that you can create, that you should be constantly trying to create with Caitlin Clark via very, very well set picks. The pick and roll with Aaliyah Boston, for example, that we don't see very often because you want to make Caitlin's defender fight through those picks every single time. Make them go under if you can, make them desperately fight to go over, and you're gonna give Caitlin a little space and create a lot of nightmares that way because also if they switch, you get stuff, and there ain't no way in hell. I mean, look at it's just it's ridiculous. There is Asia Wilson has chance of defending this, and she knows it. And the other thing I wanna show, I'm gonna play it again that you see is this is one of those few times we've seen all season where Caitlin Clark actually has a little bit of the time that having her on the court gives all of her other teammates. Imagine, and it's with other players too that really piss me off around the league when people want to talk about percentages. You go watch, Olivia Miles, Paige Beckers, any of these players. They all get this type of time and space all of the time. Caitlin gets this. But look at how easy that is, right? Imagine her being able to do that 5, 6 times a game with that kind that she can. It's just it's so, 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 so frustrating to watch. We got more. People love to talk about her turnovers. Now, here is how a lot of her turnovers happen, and they get called. Clark, unfortunately, good defense there, forces the bad shot grabs. One of the few times that we see Caitlin Clark up tempo, she has a teammate ahead of her because of where she was playing. That Boston, Aaliyah never, and again, that is something that Stephanie White is going to get upset with Caitlin Clark on when what we really Aaliyah Boston doing a piss poor job of finding her space. She maybe should have gotten a little bit to the left and never even looking. By the time she gets her head around, and that's not on Caitlin. You don't say, "Oh, well, you got to wait." No, that is Aaliyah Boston who needs to get her head around and be aware. She knows who has the ball. She knows who's coming down really, really piss poor from Aaliyah Boston. And you know what happens? That goes into the scorer's book. Oh my god, that's so hard to watch. That goes into the stores as a Caitlin Clark turnover. So Caitlin plays great defense. Caitlin gets the rebound. She pushes the pace and is an absolute disaster. And that type of thing happens over and over and over again with this team. Now, I have two other good plays that I want to show you with Caitlin that should be part of the offense on a consistent basis. Just I want you to know that's coming because what we just saw was negative, and I want to show you one more that is negative, just as examples to give you, these are kind of glimpses of the things that we get too often and not enough on the positive side in every single game, right? It sort of encapsulates all of it into a nutshell of what is going on. And also what I'm going to show you, we saw that 3 over Asia is different areas. So you're going to get all 3 levels of scoring from Caitlin Clark and how we unlock that. And Stephanie White simply refuses to do so. But in here, what you got here is you have Ty Harris by the way, played 23 minutes to go with Caitlin Clark's 24 minutes. She is the point guard that Stephanie White wants. I promise you, if Caitlin Clark didn't have the fan base that she has, if she was, even with her talent, just another WNBA player, Caitlin Clark would not be starting for Stephanie White. Ty Harris would be starting for Stephanie White. But let's see what Ty Harris here. Always bringing it up, right? When she plays a lot with Caitlin Clark now, and she brings the ball up. She's the point guard when Caitlin Clark is in there with her. Watch this. Here comes Caitlin from the what when you're looking at the screen, bottom left. She I mean, give her the ball, right? She's open. Let's back that up. Comes Caitlin Clark. She's open. She's open. Give her the ball. But no, and I stopped it here. The ball's in the air. Look where it's going. Again, sort of in the bottom left. Going to I don't know where she thought she was chucking that ball. We got a basket out of it because of the catch. Absolutely should have been a turnover. See, that was deflected, and she picks up ball, right? That's deflected by the defender, and lucky for us, it falls to. But Ty Harris had Caitlin Clark flashing open, instead throws a terrible pass to a covered player that only by sheer luck was not a layup the other direction. So again, that's the type of thing we see often in these games. Caitlin Clark getting open and teammates refusing to pass her the basketball. Now here we go again with Caitlin Clark having to do things on her own, as she does time and time this team. So she's going to bring it up. There's a pressure at half court. Sophie, a little bit of a pick. Now what they got out of hold on, let me back it up a little bit. All right, they got the switch out of that. Remember when I talked about Caitlin being able to shoot over a defender like Asia Wilson, who's never going to be able to cover her out there? It was kind of a little bit reminiscent of the Breanna Stewart one from that monster game against the Liberty last year. Breanna Stewart, I mean, I'm not knocking her, right? Positionally, some players are just different. They're built different. You're not putting Breanna Stewart on Caitlin Clark. You're not putting Asia Wilson on Caitlin Clark out in the open court. And love that. And again, in that situation, because of getting the mismatch, because of getting the switch, Caitlin Clark actually gets an open look and can do whatever she wants, because you will see it in this drive. Okay, we get the switch. Now watch it. Gone. I mean, look how easy that is, right? No move. Just Caitlin Clark is that much quicker with what? Two dribbles. Look where the defender is, already behind her. Right? I mean, look at that. She's behind her. I mean, it took two freaking dribbles. And now she's gonna create space from her. Let me go all the way up. It's wild, by the way, how much she creates. Look where she is. Now she's actually was a little more in the middle, but you can see how she's already leaning to the left. But she right now, left foot, that's her outside foot in this, is right at the corner of the free throw line. She ends up shooting easy bucket. Boom. Look so easy, but the offense never does this stuff on purpose. The only time we get offense from Caitlin Clark is when she decides that she's had enough and she's going to create on her own. She's not going to get any help from Stephanie White. All right, and I want to end it with the longest one and maybe the best one, the one that unfortunately we know we should see 10, 15, 20, 25 times a game for everyone, because it would help all players, but we never ever see. I'm not sure how it was how they snuck this by Stephanie White in this game, but this is Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston with the two-player game. He's going to in Aaliyah the ball, right? Which you don't see very often, right? I mean, you just don't. She's going to go look. No, Boston's like, oh, let me come back out and grab. let's reset. Aaliyah's going to be out here now. Let me not going to give it to her there because of the coverage. By the way, again, I've said Aaliyah Boston has a high basket. Well, Caitlin blows by everybody ourselves. A layup. This is a nightmare for opposing teams, but we are too worried about not allowing Caitlin Clark to shine, too worried about making Kelsey Mitchell the Indiana Fever organization, the focus, allowing her to chuck up shots whenever she wants. Dribble, 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 dribble. There's no flow when Kelsey Mitchell is involved in the offense, and that eliminates this type of stuff, which can take a little bit of time to develop. You had motion here, you had movement off the ball with Aaliyah and Caitlin. You had them on the same page, reading each other. You had high basketball IQ from both of them. These two together being the focal point of an offense cannot be handled by any single team in this league. And Stephanie White refuses to make it a significant part of her offense. She refuses to make it what should actually be the focal point of her offense. And this really not even the pure pick and roll that we like to talk about. This is just Caitlin and Aaliyah Boston working off of each other, really kind of off script, the type of stuff you get on the playground when you have a couple of teammates who really know the game of basketball and they don't have to have had to play together. Yeah, we're gonna, boom, throw it in, and Aaliyah's going to say, "Hey, here you go." Caitlin flashes to the ball, gets it right back in a very, very good spot to start running the offense. And it runs like, okay, let me see if I have the logo three. Oh, no, all right, they recovered, but Aaliyah Boston is going to be intelligent here. And instead of just going to the low post and not really look, "Well, let me go help Caitlin. Let me get out." Now we're setting up again. Set, boom, thing. But the defense flashes with her a little bit, helps out enough pressure. Aaliyah says, yeah, you know what? That handoff's not going to work. Caitlin, just keep going. A great little bounce pass to lead her. Easy. Something else Caitlin does that a lot of these players don't is she makes layups at a very high rate, and hers are very difficult. But when you give her something that's uncontested, never ever in a, and look how easy that like the fifth grade boy that we like to talk about that can do it better than these WNBA players. It never looks like that with most WNBA players, which is really kind of sad when you think about it. So these are just all three levels. You saw the three. You saw the great mid game. I'm sick of hearing this. Oh, she doesn't have a mid game. That's such a lie. It's such nonsense. She just doesn't use it as often as other players do. And of course, she's one of the best in the league and just going all the way downhill to the bucket. You saw what can happen when her and Aaliyah Boston play together instead of worrying about Kelsey Mitchell having the ball for 23 of the 24 seconds of the shot clock. You saw what happens with mismatches when Caitlin Clark can get a mismatch usually via a screen, something that's just decent enough to get the other team to switch off and then forget it, you're done. And of course, you also saw the flip side, teammates dropping passes, which leads to scorers putting Caitlin Clark down for a turnover. And you saw a glimpse of, hey, Caitlin's open, but let me not throw the ball. I'm going to force it elsewhere, which happens time and time again as well. So this was just the one game. Right? Remember, I think yesterday I said, "Hey, I'm gonna do some video." Well, here you go. Anyway, do me a quick favor if y'all don't mind, like, comment, subscribe. I will talk to you later.